It's gonna be a good one.
It'll be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Jackson and they can do to what's the I hit by 10. Oh
Welcome everybody to the Hitting Zone podcast. That's where we take tough subjects and we crush them. If you like what we're doing, you follow me. We're on Instagram. This is my performance page. This is so you can find out who I really am and you can gain some trust so that you can come hit with me, pitch with me, strength and conditioning with me. If you want to talk baseball, whatever, is _MTS performance. On X, we're Hitting Zone STL, which a capital H, Z, and STL. And on TikTok, that's where we're doing our best work right now, is at the Hitting Zone STL. I don't know why TikTok is growing for me, but it's a big thing for me. So make sure you go hit me up, follow, like, share, do whatever. Going live tonight if you want to watch. Big shout out Game 7 Baseball. Huge supporter of YBM. We couldn't do this without them. We love their events. We're going to have, I'm assuming, the Super 7s coming up again this year, 14U age group. And then their spring and summer schedule for 2026 is out. Prime Sports Midwest, 3 locations, Fenton, Chesterfield, St. Peter's. Get your gear online. Make sure you follow up on the St. Peter's stores. They had some weather damage recently. So make sure that you go in there, support Prime Sports to help them kind of get through the little hurdles that they're going through. It's a brick and mortar, so having tangibles in your hand is always a good thing. So make sure you go out and support them and get that St. Peter's store back up and rolling. The big thing is YBM Club. I'm a supporter of the YBM Club in the Hitting Zone. Legacy member, you can join now for Legacy member pricing. I think it's 50% off. Is that correct? But you have to go to youthbaseballmidwest.com. You have to click the YBM Club to sign up. And you might even have some benefits from us over here at the Hitting Zone where it could probably benefit your pocketbook. There's nothing like having a membership to a facility that you can go to at any time that you want and get your reps in. And I think that matters more than the team that you play for, and even some of the one-on-one lessons you might give you. Getting your work in is just as important as anything else. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right. So, if you've watched the previous one that we did, we talked about the coaching aspect. We got 3 kind of levels of coaching. The paid coach, we already had that conversation, the dad coach, and the volunteer coach. Today, we're going to talk about the dad coach. Both of us have been dad coaches. You coached your son. I coached my daughter. I was pretty tough on my daughter. I would imagine that you were probably pretty tough on your son. The one thing that I loved about, and I had some dislikes about it too, but is just kind of being involved in the development of the process and really coaching the team. So I didn't just coach my daughter so she could play a premium position or anything like that, which is everybody complained about the dad coaching spot, or, whatever, the thing is that everybody hates dad coaches for these days. But you're the same way. From
absolutely
plenty of our conversations, if your son didn't cut it,
he didn't play.
I
made him a PO. I mean, it just got to a point where, he excelled more on the mound, didn't want to do as much with the bat. He had a lot of other extracurricular activities, very gifted musically, wanted to be socially with his friends, and that's okay. I didn't coach my son to make him an elite level baseball player per se. I coached my son to have a relationship with him and enjoy the game that I love. He didn't love it as much as I loved it, and that's perfectly fine. He's going to be a very, very good member of society.
Yep. He's
getting a 4-year degree from Southeast Missouri State. He's already a business banker. He's engaged. He's hopefully going to be spitting out grandbabies after he's married. And, the game of baseball taught him life lessons, but it built our relationship very cohesively. For him to every day on the phone tell me that he loves me says that I did something right as a father.
Yeah.
I didn't make baseball the priority. I made it a part of our life. And when he came to me after his junior year and said, listen, I don't think I want to play my senior year. And this is coming off a junior year that he was an all-conference pitcher. And he said, Dad, I just don't think I want to do it anymore. And I said, that's absolutely fine. He goes, I don't want to disappoint you. We took it as every year was a 1-year contract. You're either all in or you're all out. You didn't want to do it. You know what? Oh, well. Go enjoy the rest of your life. Have a great senior year, and go do what Cooper wants to do, not what Dad wants you to do. I never made it about what I wanted him to do. However, when he had invested for that year, you're going to invest. You're going to get something out of it. He invested time with the pitching lessons in the strength and conditioning aspect of things, and he did quite well. But, at the end of the day, I didn't make it a vehicle that he had to have a lot of pressure on him to perform. If he wanted to talk about the game after the game, we talked about it. If he didn't want to talk about it, then we didn't talk about it. It wasn't that priority. My priority for him moving through there was to put my team to the forefront, which, that you have to do that as a dad.
Yeah.
It can't just be about your own son. I've seen many instances where it has been about them, and it causes a lot of friction. And then I've also seen a lot of dad coaches that are really, really good at what they do that, really benefit the team.
This brings up some good points because, I was pretty tough on my daughter. And I will admit that I started coaching her because I thought I could do a better job of coaching than her previous coaches. And she did have some good coaches prior. So to those over there, it wasn't necessarily about, you as a coach. I thought I could do a better job in growing and developing the athletes. And so, for me, I didn't have a pitcher. In softball, the pitcher was the key, or the shortstop or the center fielder. I had a catcher. I had a short 5'3" kid who was a gamer, and she caught and played third base. Mm-hmm. And that was what I had. And I coached because I wanted to start to impact people, right? And when I'm hearing from you, and then what I think about my own experiences, and as a dad coach, as a /volunteer, whatever you want to call me, I cared about the game. I cared about the respect of the game. I cared about learning the game. I was new to softball, so I had to learn it. It ended up getting me a college coaching degree opportunity in softball, and I couldn't do that without getting pushed to do it or thinking that. So for me, when I did this, I'm searching for this because I want to make sure I say this the correct way. You love this game. I love this game. I don't think there's enough dad coaches that love the game the way we do, so they're not going to then coach the kids that same way. I think that's where the dad coaches problem comes in, is we have too many dad coaches coaching that should not be coaching.
I agree with that. The lines are blurred when it comes to that. I mean, it's a necessary evil in some instances that people are starving for coaches and qualified coaches. And I think there's a lot of good dad qualified coaches out there that do a phenomenal job. And then I see some other dad coaches who are really in it for their children. And that's where it blurs the lines with a lot of people's opinions. That, there's where a lot of organizations want no dad coaches anymore because they don't want to have the conflicts because they're losing numbers. And I get it, but man, it really takes away from a lot of good dad coaches out there. And, in particular, I mean, there's some in the Naturals organization that they embrace, and they do a phenomenal job of it, but they don't steer one way or the other. They're there for the team first, and to teach these kids how to be better ball players, better young men, and go from there. But it's a slippery slope. It really is. It's a tough thing to deal with, and a lot of clubs don't want to deal with it anymore. They X out the dads, and they would rather hire a 19 or 20-year-old kid to do it, who might be coming out of playing their freshman or sophomore year of college baseball. And I mean, what are you really getting out of that too?
A babysitter.
Absolutely, and that is another problem. But it's not a dad. So there you have it. That's the tricky thing about it is I can't entrust. Now, if you want to bring in a 19 or 20-year-old college kid to be your assistant, fantastic. There's a lot of energy there. They respect. They get respect from the kids. He can be more of a mentor to them. This is what I do. This is how I got to the college level. I think there's a lot of value in that. But for them to be thrown into a mix as a head coach, I just think it's counterproductive.
How can a 19-year-old kid coach a 15-year-old kid?
It's tough.
They're buddies.
That's what I'm saying. Be that mentor. Have those kids look up to that young man who is a freshman or sophomore, maybe a junior in college, that has gotten to that level. They're one of the 5%ers out there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or maybe one of the 1%ers that are playing maybe the Division I college baseball. Not a lot of those kids are going to coach in the summer because they're playing a high level of college baseball collegiately somewhere. But your NAIA guys, your JUCO guys that might be staying in town, your D3 guys, let them be that mentor to these young men and learn that, okay, someday they're going to be a head coach, but you got to cut your teeth somewhere. You know, I didn't start out being a head coach. I was an assistant coach. I didn't want that responsibility because I wasn't mature enough as a young man to take on that responsibility. I had other priorities. I want to go out with my buddies. I want to lift. I want to play baseball still myself. I want to do a lot of other things. But I love the game enough to start cutting my teeth at those lower levels and learning from really good baseball guys.
I always wonder that same thing about responsibility when you have a young kid come in. And I know that this is not really the direction of the show that I want to take, is going back to the paid coaches, because we've already had that conversation. But to me, it's too many teams, too many players. It's
Right.
not cutting people. It's not allowing these young athletes to go into the recreational world, save a crap ton of money.
Right.
It is, I want to get every athlete into one program and we'll figure it out from there.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I see this doing is diminishing the product overall. So if you're an organization leader and you have a team that has the dad coaching problem, you go out and you hire somebody. What makes it any better? Other than the fact that, like you said, it's not a dad.
It's the perception of not having a dad coach in the program.
But what makes that kid any better than the kid that was there before? Because I know a lot of people who have played high caliber baseball that are not good baseball people or minds. And when it comes to coaching, they can't coach the game. This is my argument with Yachty and Albert.
Right.
What makes them the greatest thing, the savior to the Cardinals organization? I don't know that they will.
Exactly.
Do I think they could? Of course.
They
I love
could in
Yachty.
time. Yes, absolutely. But once again, you know, it's
What made Ali good? He
exactly.
was only 30-something years old. He's younger than some of the players when he got the job. But
I get it.
It's tough for me because I feel like we have too many travel teams, and instead of putting the best coaches with the best groups, or the coaches that have an idea, that are willing to learn, there's no vetting of those coaches. It's just, oh, you got a team, why don't you come over and we'll put you on board, and we'll fill your roster with all the other recreational style kids. And that's what you get. The kids that don't have a real big drive for it or a high IQ for the sport, you get those guys. All that is problems.
Right.
So as a leader, I don't want those problems.
Exactly.
You know, so I have a different opinion. And when I hear you say the things that you say, I want to get out of team sports because people don't respect me enough. You know, they tell me I'm the problem, that their kid didn't make it to college, or, you know, all of these different things. And I'm dealing with a bunch of average athletes, which, if the expectation is set, that's okay.
Right.
It should be all right, because there's got to be levels of play, right? It is in the majors and minors, and we should have that in youth sports. But why can't we just be the Little Rascals instead of being a top organizational name, and then having all of these expectations? Because I think that's what's led to parents saying, I don't like dad coaches.
Right.
Is that like, do you feel that way, or do you feel that?
I definitely feel that way. And the organizational building that I work out of is the St. Louis Naturals. Fantastic organization. I'm going to brag on them for a little bit. I mean, you
got one of my favorite people in that organization, by the way.
Who's that?
Red Freilich.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was one of them I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
There's three guys in particular I'm going to talk about from the Naturals, and they're old school, and I love it. You know, they might have, be perceived as having the absolute top tier athletes, but I tell you what, they produce good, solid young men who do get to the next level. They might have to go to a JUCO. It doesn't matter. They have their fair share of high-level athletes, but they have their fair share of really good kids and good athletes. Three coaches in particular that are dads: Ryan Freilich, Lindenwood University.
Yes, sir. My guy.
Jake Manning, Missouri State, got drafted out of high school. And Jacob Hilgendorf, Missouri State alum, played in the College World Series on the 2003 Missouri State team. They're all three dad coaches that carry a lot of respect into that program, and the parents have no gripes whatsoever because they all three have kids. Ryan has two, but he coaches them up and he makes them earn their time. He holds them accountable for that. What's wrong with doing that? These are credible dads with very good playing backgrounds, and there's more dad coaches in the Naturals organization. Those three, just kind of come to the forefront with me because I have a relationship with all three. I've worked with all three personally. It's there. Another guy that's back into the organization, that played there is Luke Martise. He played at Jefferson College. He played at Berry College, in Georgia. Very credible guys that are out there pouring their time and heart out, and they don't get paid a dime. They get paid nothing. And they're out there practicing with these young men 3 to 4 days a week right now. I see it every day in the facility. They're invested. What's wrong with that?
There should be nothing wrong with that, because that's who you should want coaching your kid.
Absolutely.
Is that person. So it's the 25-year-old that I think should be taking over the 10s and 12s or whatever.
100%.
And they need more baseball knowledge and time on the field. I don't think I can go back. When I was in college, I would come back and work for Balls and Strikes, and I would do some stuff for them. I did not know. There's a reason why they stuck me with the 6-year-old to 8-year-old groups when I did the camps. And the guys that were 30, they would get the older guys at the camps. I didn't know enough.
Right.
I don't know why we can't just understand who we are instead of going, I know it all. I'm 20 years old. I've played at whatever school, and I know more.
Let's take it another step with Steve Nicolarot. You know that?
Yeah.
Hall of Fame high school baseball coach,
right?
SLU Hype. He's got a team in the Naturals organization for his grandson. There is not a better technical baseball man, in my opinion, in the St. Louis area than Steve Nicolarot. I work alongside that man every day of the week. He does hitting lessons. I do hitting lessons. We bounce things on and off each other all the time.
That's a lot of years of experience.
Oh my! You have to soak it up.
Yeah.
But if you come into that facility and you can see still, even and Steve is not a young man, but he's got a young mind and a young heart. He's in it for the game. That man teaches the best technical aspect of the game from a variety of ways.
Right.
He can teach fielding. He can teach catching. He's the best base running coach I've ever seen in my entire life, and he's the best strategist from rundowns, first and thirds, pickoff plays, cutoffs and relays. You will not find a better man to teach the game than Steve Nicolarot. And a lot of these dads gravitate to Steve. He does a lot of coaches clinics for the Naturals. Why can't we get back to that model? There are guys out there with credentials with that, like I said, I've got a ton of guys that I can call out with the Naturals, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of that program there. It is a family environment. And they let their dads do the job. And there's not the drama that you see with a lot of other facilities.
You also don't have 500 kids. I should stop picking on the large organizations.
And there's nothing wrong. I've got a
business
ton of
model
respect
is
for
different.
those. Exactly. The model's different.
Yeah.
And these other bigger organizations, they do a great job. I'm not out there to say, this, that, or the other. They're out there, they're grinding too, they're helping athletes. It's just a different model.
Yeah.
I like the mom and pop model.
Yeah.
I'm a humble person. I like that cohesiveness. That's my comfort zone. So
I'm in our program, with what was New Era Baseball, and now that we have recently merged with the U.S. Nationals, I was the only I volunteer a 9U team. I'm not going to charge a 9U team to pay me to coach. So I'm volunteering my time, but everybody else is a dad coach. And, some people don't like the techniques, but that's where you come in with you trying to help those guys out answer questions, which I think is unique with what the YBM club is going to hopefully do with the some of the dad coaches stuff and things that might come out with the YBM club. I think that's important because there's coaches out there that do want to coach that just don't have enough information but can't get it because there's nobody to help them because they're helping. There's too much other stuff going on, So I actually had a list of questions that I wanted to ask you, but that was good stuff there. So I actually had an opening question that I thought was going to be the anchor of this, but we'll figure out to see if that happens. But it just kind of goes back to the obsession of being against the dad coaches, and did we kind of forget that that's how this game was built?
Absolutely,
was on the dad coaches. How do we get back to? Can we get back to it? I guess maybe it's a two-part question. Can we get back to understanding that we need to give a little bit of grace to these dads and allow them to be coached, or allow your kids to be coached versus all this micromanagement that goes on? I think specifically we probably need to start with understanding who our athlete is. But how do we get back to the understanding that we need dad coaches if we're going to have this many teams and this kind of atmosphere? How do we get back to that?
I don't know if we can get back to it just based on the amount of teams each club has at every age level. It is, it's the numbers are massive. And like I said, you take a look at the business model for the Naturals. You're telling me a guy like Cliff Polite, who played in the big leagues for 8 or 9 years. TJ Matthews was one of our dad coaches, played in the big leagues for 9 years. You're going to run those guys out of town? Exactly. But it's a smaller model club. There's, roughly 30 or 35 teams in the club. There's some clubs that have, 15 to 20, maybe 10 and 11-year-old teams, 12-year-old teams. There's just the sheer volume of numbers will dictate the type of coaching you're going to get at this point with some of these bigger clubs. And that's where they're running into. They don't want the dads because there has been instances where they've had to bring in dad coaches, but all of a sudden here comes the friction. Because like you said, there's dads in there that are going to really hold themselves accountable. And you look at dads with credentials like that, and they're going to be a little bit more objective. They're not going to treat their kid and put their kid at the pedestal. They're going to make their kid earn their way. And then there's some dads that, okay, I'll do it. I'll volunteer, or I'll do this, that, and the other, but they put their kids to the forefront. And I think they just want to eliminate that type of friction. But just the sheer volume of teams at every age level for a lot of these clubs that are bigger like that, it's not going to happen.
It's just difficult, I think, to manage, really. And I like what you said, going into just like, when I have an athlete that comes to me and their parent played, man, they sit out in right field.
Mm-hmm.
They bother nobody.
Nobody.
They never question anything I do. I've never had a problem with somebody that's played at a level or higher or was an elite level athlete in any sport.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's just the sport we were playing. If I have a parent that may not have the same pedigree, it seems like there's this protection happening, and I feel like that's where it's coming from, is that they feel like they have to protect their kid and give these kids this name versus actually understanding that we should be really playing at the rec ball level,
right,
getting some more experience because you're still undersized.
They don't have perfect game rankings for rec ball. They don't have PBR rankings for rec ball.
Yeah, you know what? The top 100, you're not going to make that list anyways.
Exactly. Well, obviously, I'm being a little sarcastic, but
yeah,
a lot of these parents want the glory of their kids to be recognized on a social media platform based on how many perfect game events they attend. And let's call
Paul Skeens on perfect game.
I'm sure he was.
I don't even know if they had perfect game rankings back then. He was a catcher, remember, back then?
Yeah, exactly. The thing of it is, the more events you attend, the higher your ranking goes up. It's weird that happens like that, but it really does.
Oh, so you can pay for it?
Yeah, you really can. But then there's, I can guarantee you what right now, Paul Skeens was not paying for his way into these perfect game showcases.
No.
Bryce Harper was not paying his way into these perfect game showcases.
I actually don't know how long perfect game's been around. Do you?
Perfect game has been around since right around 1999, 2000. They started in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Yes.
Oh, so I actually knew that part.
Yeah.
I didn't think about. I was thinking like the whole the national scale.
Right.
I do remember that because I had a chance to work a long time ago with the
I did camps for them and ID camps and whatnot, and Jerry Ford and Ben Ford and Andy Ford built an empire, and they cashed out and made a lot of money. I don't know who bought the Perfect Game naming rights and whatever they do now, but it's global.
I think it's
a big business, and I think it's been a very good thing.
Yeah.
But it's also been a detriment too when it comes to how they do their ranking systems, and it's just the overall perception of every kid walking around that they're going to be the next latest and greatest thing because Perfect Game says they are.
Yeah, we had that experience in softball. We played so many USSSA events, and we got so many points, and then we made it to their World Series. It wasn't, win your region, win your state,
right?
Or win your state, win your region, go to the World Series. There was no real value.
No, not like it was when I was coaching youth baseball for Caba.
Yeah,
you had to go out and you had to win.
Right. So you didn't get invited, and
exactly
to the big
you
stage.
didn't get invited to the big dance.
Yeah, I'm not picking on PG, by the way. I
absolutely
actually,
not. I think their platform is great.
Yeah.
I think they do a lot for the game of baseball. For softball now, they do a lot for kids in general. But at the end of the day, it's part of the problem too.
Yeah. So going back to just like how we were as coaches, do you think that in the dad coach setting that kids would probably benefit more if we had the focus on driving the fundamentals, the discipline, kind of the old school work ethic? I don't want to use it as old school because I feel like if you build a culture, it's not old school or new school. It's just culture, right? Like
standards.
Work ethic stuff. Standards. Great point.
Standards.
Do you think that would avoid like folks bouncing around from like club to club trying to search for this perfect fit if they found a dad coach that actually cared about the game like the dad coaches we know?
I think so. I mean, it boils down to what the standard is of the organization and the credentials of said coach that is running the program or running the team. You know, I mean, there's people that were jumping in line to want to play for ex-big leaguers because they know the game. They got there for a reason. You know, I mean, are guys that played at a very high level of college baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's
not just ex-big leaguers, though.
Absolutely
it's
not.
ex-big leaguers who care about developing the game
yes,
for the things that maybe they missed.
Right.
If they had an arm injury or a leg injury, what are they doing to try to help the young people
Right.
avoid kind of some of those things? And it's not just the ex D1 player. It's not the ex major leaguer. It is the guy that is a coach.
right.
I think that's very different than a guy that just played the game and a guy that can coach the game.
Absolutely.
Because I do think there's good coaches out there that only played high school baseball, maybe only even
Phenomenal
as a
coaches.
sophomore.
Right.
You know, I got a young man that played 2 years at Fort Zumwalt West, but he wasn't good enough to make their varsity roster at Fort Zumwalt West. He's playing college baseball right now.
Right.
And he comes back and coaches, but his IQ is high. He watches a ton of baseball on TV.
Right.
And that's a kid that's going to be a good coach, you know, in the future. And he's doing the same thing. He's got to learn, right? He just didn't get a head coaching job. He had to actually be an assistant first.
One of the best coaches that I know that I network all the time is David Wiggins. He didn't play at a very high level, but what he lacked athletically, he made up for in his work ethic, his love for the game, and he is one of the elite coaches now, not only in high school, but in summer baseball as well now too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a phenomenal job with that.
Through the years.
Absolutely.
I like his baseball IQ.
It's off the charts.
Yeah.
And he, you know, and players that I know that I've worked with off his teams and other players that, you know, that have been around him, I know that they're learning the game the right way. So I think he does a great job.
Yeah, I love Coach Dave, Coach Wiggins, whatever you want to
Yes.
be called, Red, fellow redhead. I love my
There you go.
gingers.
Ginger it up.
That's why I have a thing for Freilich. I actually played with Freilich on the Spikes for a few years.
Okay.
And it was a joy to play with him because he's fiery.
Very fiery.
To have another ginger on the team with the same soulless energy was good. No, I shouldn't say that.
I
Ryan's
give
such a
lessons
great
to
guy.
both of his
Do you?
boys. Yes.
I a long time ago, I was like, what do I got to do to get you out in the O'Fallon area? He's like, dude, I don't live out that way.
Right.
Why would I drive from whatever he's on 55 all the way out to you? And I was like, whatever it's got to take, because I love that guy so much. And that's now I'm getting to the age where I'm seeing those kids that used to show up in diapers and stuff are now playing.
Right.
And I'm loving getting to watch their growth because I know what their dads brought to the game. And this is why I love the dad conversation so much. If these dad coaches stopped happening, what does that do to local baseball? Was it due to clubs? If dad coaches were no longer available to coach, what would happen?
I think you lose a lot from just the playing aspect and what they bring as far as knowledge because they've been in the trenches. I think you lose a lot of credibility in a lot of ways because there just aren't the numbers of credible people that are willing to take their time to spend 6 to 8 months getting paid little to nothing to run these teams and investing their time, their energy, and effort level to making it an absolute great experience. You lose a lot. You lose a lot of knowledge. I think the game suffers from that standpoint. The IQ aspect is ridiculously bad now in baseball. Kids aren't watching the game very much anymore. They watch a highlight film, or they'll play it a lot on MLB The Show, but they don't know the game. And I think that's where they lose those intangibles that these dad coaches bring. Not only have they played it, and they've played it at a pretty good level, but they've been invested. They didn't have everything that kids have now. They didn't have all the options that they had now. I could not wait for Saturday because that was the game of the week.
Yeah, it's the only time you could watch it.
Absolutely.
Back then.
It was Baseball Bunch in the morning,
Fox,
followed
wasn't
by
it?
This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen, and then the game of the week. So you know where I was at on a Saturday?
Yeah.
I was watching baseball. I was watching, Johnny Bench. I was watching all these guys, the Baseball Bunch.
Yeah.
What a great Saturday
I
to
don't
get
know
up
that
at 7 a.m., cartoon it up, and then baseball the rest of the day. And then you go out after that.
Yeah, and play
Absolutely.
outside.
That's fuzzball, wiffle ball, stickball, football, basketball, not roadblocks. not MLB The Show.
Have you ever
all
tried to
day.
play Roblox?
No, I'm not. No,
I
we're
don't
not
even
going there.
I don't even understand it.
Exactly. And if I don't, we're not going there.
I did love Pong though, man, when the
Pong?
Atari came out.
Yeah, a little blip back and forth.
Can you imagine?
It got
just sitting there
faster.
going,
So there's a skill set, but it got going faster. So
oh my Lord. I just think it's funny because if we did lose the dad coaches, I bet a bunch of organizations would go out of business.
I would think so, yes.
So we have to have dad coaches. We need to rally around our dad coaches.
We really
versus
do.
Really saying that our dad coaches are terrible, whatever. I think you should really actually realize what goes on in the dad coaches. There was a moment that you shared earlier, and you were looking at me. I don't know if we caught this on camera or not. You got a little bit of emotions when you were talking about your son going through this process, because I think about these same things that I had with my daughter.
Right.
That's an experience that you cannot take from me, right?
Absolutely not.
And I understand that at the end of the day, like, I was there to coach my daughter and her teammates, and my job was to create the best on-field product I could.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter happened to be a part of the best on-field product. And I would always challenge anybody that said, well, your daughter this, you tell me where I should play her. I will be more than happy to do so. Why is it that when you make the rosters, she goes in the same spots? Because we don't have a better catcher. We don't have a better third baseman. We don't have a better 3 or 4 hitter. Well, guess what? When we did, I found a better catcher. The first thing the dad asked me was, your daughter catches. I said, if your daughter can beat my daughter out,
right,
I'm going to move my daughter to where we're the weakest because she can be better there. Guess what happened? Shelby came in. She caught better than my daughter did. It made us better at other positions.
Absolutely.
That's how we started winning more games, because I would move my child to where it is necessary. I think if that happened overall in the big picture, I think every dad would probably do that more often. But we have so many athletes and teams. I don't think that that's a chance. I don't think that's an opportunity. So the kid the dad that probably started it probably actually has one of the better players on the team. I think it's very rare actually to see a crappy player. I don't think there's that many of them that are leading the team in the like they're hitting leadoff and playing shortstop and pitching every bracket play game. I don't see that as often.
No.
Right? It just so happens to be the rest of your team is bad. So I'm an evaluator, right? So are you.
Yes.
If I have to evaluate your team on a third-party view, I mean, like, well, that kid's probably the best player on a team or top 5, and it'll be the coach's kid. It's usually always the case. So I don't think it should always be let's attack dad coaches because their kid plays here or there, or the favoritism thing.
It's the perception of just being a dad coach.
We got to get away from that.
We have to. But, until the narrative changes, they're going to keep running dad coaches out of it. And eventually it's just going to end up really not good.
Well, they're going to lose guys like me.
Exactly.
And I'm not even a dad coach anymore, but they're going to lose guys like me because they don't respect the game enough, in my opinion, to just understand, like, let us coaches coach.
Right.
And if I'm truly am creating a nightmare for your kid, you have a conversation with me.
Right.
If I'm hard on that kid because they're not listening or they're not playing, they're gonna have to sit.
And that's something I want to back up too. I don't want people thinking that I've been the best dad coach in the world. I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger with my son and my daughter, and I had to learn from it. I mean, I was extremely hard on my son initially, because I wanted him to be that guy.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be the poster child because I did this on a professional basis. I did this for a living. My kid had to be the best. It didn't work out very good, and I saw there was a division with my son and he wasn't having fun anymore. And I had to have, I had people come to me and in conversations with me and said, listen, dude, you need to pump the brakes with this stuff. I had to learn that valuable lesson. So once I started to...
But somebody told you that.
Absolutely.
Instead of... I was about to cuss, but instead of complaining to you about it.
No. They
said it pretty blunt.
Once again, I was coaching with another dad. His name's Keith Kimberlin. Keith played he had a cup of coffee in the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers, played at a very high level. His son played on our team too. I went off the chain on my son in different scenarios, and I thank that man to this day for pulling me off the side and have a conversation that he had with me. He really shined a light on that perspective, and that helped me be a better coach, better dad, and it really helped me to understand that, I was trying to live through my son, and I could not do that anymore.
Yeah. I think
and that's why I get emotional now, knowing that I had to evolve. I had to adjust as not only a man and swallow my pride that, my kid wasn't the best athlete on the team.
Right.
And that's okay. look at my son now, and I can't be more proud of him.
Right.
You know?
I love that you can bring a little bit of that emotion to the game, because I'm the same way with my daughter. I was super hard on her. I had to learn the hard way, of course. And she told me when she got to the age where she felt like she can have these conversations with me, she was like, I loved playing with you on your teams. And then I really actually didn't at times because of the way that you treated me, you know, post game or, you know, things like that. And again, I was wanting to drive her. I wanted her to be something that she wasn't wanting to be, like the leadership role, because she didn't want to be, and we forget about this piece. We talk about the dad coaches. Well, what about the players of the dad? We forget about the hardships that they have going through this, because when you are that level of player, they get looked at and frowned upon, right? And so, you know, my daughter went through that, and she's like, Dad, I didn't want to be that. I didn't know that because I didn't ask those questions. I was just always so pissy about something else.
Right.
And, you know, when I got to coaching my son, same way. My son did not want anything to do with being the baseball player I wanted him to be at 9 years old.
Right.
You know, we got a chance to play against Jackson Holiday back then, and Edmund's kids and all those guys over there from the Tigers groups that they had, that little elite level. I mean, Orlando Pace's kid was on that team.
Right.
Such a stacked group, and at least with names, you know. And I was like, my son's playing with these guys. My son was nowhere close to wanting that same experience. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, let me find out about my son. Let me ask my son questions. He said, Dad, I want to play baseball. I don't want to play at a high level.
Right.
I said, okay, buddy, what do we got to do? I found him a team. Now he's friends with this team that he's been friends with for 10 years. He still talks to these guys outside. He's doing his own thing. I'm proud of him the same way. Very differently than I am my daughter. And I think that's the uniqueness of the relationships that you have with your kids. I don't think they all should be the same.
No,
you know,
and they're not.
all
They're
individuals.
starkly distant. I mean, you have to work with the individual.
Yeah, don't think that dad coaches don't think about our kids and the stuff that we go through too, because I think it's hard for players of dad coaches or mom coaches in the softball.
And it's hard to swallow your pride knowing too that, you know, you want your kid to be that guy, and when he isn't, it's hard to deal with it at times. But that's the ego part of what we deal with too. But once I was able to drop that narrative and that ego, man, I had a lot more fun.
Yeah, for me, it was Coach Craig Rothmeyer. He was my assistant coach, who also was a dad coach, who still coaches his grandkids now, which I was going to ask you earlier. Are we going to have granddaddy ball coming up
I've got
soon?
a grandson coming December the 13th.
Yeah.
So there might be some granddad ball in there.
I have a grandson. My oldest is almost 30. So shout out Caitlin. He's 7, and he won't do baseball. So Kate comes up and trains at the facility, some athletes, and he comes up there, and I'm like, man, pick up the baseball. He loves soccer, you know. So I just try to kick the soccer ball as hard as I can at him, so he gets afraid of it, so I can teach him how to play baseball. He's got a good arm, man, and he's fast. I'm kidding. I don't do that. I hang him upside down in the closet. But I love the direction that it's like giving back to this community. That's why I like Youth Baseball Midwest, and I like working with you, is because it always goes back to what can we give back to this, and what kind of advice we can. We absolutely need dad coaches, and these folks volunteer most of the time, and maybe in some organization, you know, you might feel like that dad coach, maybe they get their league or their team fees paid for because they're the coach versus getting paid or whatever the case may be. So you may get your feelings hurt over that. I don't want to say go start your own team, because we have too much of that already happening. Right. So I don't want that to happen.
No.
I want you guys to figure out a way to just get along and understand that we absolutely have to have dad coaches.
Right.
We just have to do a better job of vetting the experience that you want as a family.
Right.
I mean, pretty simple.
Absolutely. Well, it seems simple, but it's really complex.
How did we get here, though? Like, how did we get to this point to where, like, because, you know, now we're getting to that stage where you're starting to see non-parent coaches at the, you know, 10, 11, 12-year age group, but then you're starting to see people complain and get all frustrated with non-parent coaches.
Mm-hmm.
What is really the problem? And I can't figure that quite out yet. I do think about this often. I do think adults have ruined this game, whether it's the coaching side, the organizations, or parents. I shouldn't say ruined. That might be a little too much, but they've made it difficult.
Difficult. That's a lot better.
Because there's a game. I don't think the game is in a better place than it is right now with the information and technology, the types of athletes we have growing. I just don't know that I would want to be a part of today's game as a youngster.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think about stuff like that?
A lot of expectations now. You know, I mean, a lot of kids, like I said, are they really playing for the love of the game or for the perception that their parents think that they can maybe one day be the next Bobby Witt Jr., you know, get a big scholarship? You know, if they only realized how difficult it is to get to that level and what you have to sacrifice to get to that level. And you got to do a lot of boring stuff, and you got to work on your body, and you got to eat right, and you got to have the academic side. I don't think people really understand the gravity of what you have to put in as an athlete to get to that level. But I think with the way social media portrays things, and, you know, they see on TV that it's that easy. It really isn't.
Man, social media is such a good avenue for things. Like I have built relationships and kept relationships with former players, for teammates, and it's such a great tool. But we've ruined it too in the same sentence, because I think those, like you said, the expectations. And you know what's crazy is I love every part of it. I love watching the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Stuart Scott. I miss some of those guys on ESPN. I miss that stuff.
Right.
Because it gave me a sense of wanting to go watch that person on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people see Aaron Judge, and then they see Teacher Man, and then they see our boy Jeff Fry, you know, the arguments, and they think that's the humor. And I'm like, go watch Aaron Judge play and watch his games where he does go 0 for 12 and he's just missing barrels, and then he goes on a hot streak. Like, watch the guys also struggle. And you don't get that if you don't watch the game, and then you'll understand that it's not supposed to be, I'm supposed to hit 600 every tournament.
Nope.
Because it's so much more difficult than that. And I think that's where culture comes in, and that's where we need our dad coaches to kind of filter in with what made you great in the 90s or early 2000s. We can still do that today. We still can, you know, the toughness, the complaining about the schools closing too late yesterday. They should have canceled the whole day. They canceled today, and the roads are fine.
Right.
The same people are complaining again. So you know that you just have complainers, right?
Right.
Why in the it's got to suck to complain that much.
Right.
No?
It's awful.
I feel like it's a heck of a lot.
But I think that's where a lot of these club owners don't want to hear the complaints, so they eliminate what they are complaining about the most.
One of the very first things I learned about marketing or business when I was going through getting my business degree was that for every good experience, an average person will tell 3 people. Mm-hmm. For every bad experience, you tell 10. An average of 20 people. Yeah. That's what they told me back then. I could change now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about those numbers. I'm like, wait a minute. We had 250 people in the restaurant last night. We've had 3 bad experiences, and they told 60 people. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm still on a positive side. Well, what happens when I only have 15 people and then it's 3 people? You know what I mean? And it's like
everybody wants to find the negative in everything.
Yeah, let's get away from that, because it's not that bad. And it's just let the kids play, let the kids fail. I'm saying that from my own experience of not letting my kid fail either. But I did that on an internal basis. I didn't blame my coaches, because I was the coach, but I struggled, man.
Right.
Like, and when I first started coaching my daughter, if I could have, I don't want to take anything back. I've learned from it, right? I think my daughter nowadays, her mom goes, "Oh, you must have got that from your dad." You know, some of the coaching things that she does, and that makes me happy.
Right. Absolutely.
Even if it's not always maybe the best energy or something like that, but it's really this like you have, you know, whatever. I'm like, that's cool, because you don't know it at 17, 18 years old, definitely not at 12, that they're actually listening.
Right.
You know, I love that piece, and there's such a special bond between being a dad coach. Anyways, I know that kind of got off track there, and we're gonna kind of close with if what would happen if families had embraced dad coaches, the passion, the experience, and all of this, instead of treating them like a liability, especially when real issues is too many kids getting pushed into competitive ball before they're fundamentally ready. Do you think it would be easier to embrace if we just spent maybe a little bit more time developing versus chasing the travel club scene or the name across the chest?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely athletes that should be playing at a high level, And then there's athletes that should be playing at a lower level until they can understand and maybe grow a little bit better, get a little bit bigger, a little faster, a little stronger. But gain the experience by playing the game. You got a 12-man roster, and come bracket play, you're going to play your best 9 now. Not a lot. Those bottom 2 or 3 or 4 players are the bottom 2 or 3 or 4 players that get replaced every year. They're going to keep their core, but they're going to keep filling it with bottom feeders because they have to. And it's tough. You'll find some teams with 12 unbelievably great athletes, but a lot of the club teams have maybe 6 or 7 really good ball players and 5 fillers, and it's the 5 fillers that go bye every year because they're not getting as much playing time. Mom and dad are not happy about it. We had that type of situation when I coached.
Of course,
that's why I played a league, and my bottom 4 or 5 guys would always be at the top of the lineup during our league. I didn't care if we won one single game playing league baseball at Afton or Chesterfield, wherever we played at. I was going to give those kids an opportunity to grow, to get mound time, to get more at-bats at the top of the lineup, and they knew what their role was come tournament play. And that's why everything was very very copacetic with my teams, because I was very honest with people. And, like I said, during the latter part, my son was one of those guys that was not getting the lion's share of at-bats in tournament play, but he got to hit more in league play. I mean, it's just we're not doing that anymore. There's hardly any teams playing league anymore, and I get it. These travel tournaments are now starting on Wednesday or Thursday. You play Wednesday through Saturday and Sunday. You're gassed. You're not going to go play another league game on a Monday or Tuesday and then expect to just ramp it up again on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday again.
Where's your development? Where's your recovery?
There is none.
Where's all these other
Right.
pieces that we actually really need to
Right.
develop our young people?
Mm-hmm.
Even our coaching staffs, like where is the opportunity to get better if this is all we're doing is chasing these
Right.
events and rings and trophies and things that actually are relevant long term? I could tell you I don't like to lose. I don't want to lose.
Well, I hate to lose more than I love to win.
I want the experience for that kid to walk away proud that they did the best that they could on the weekend.
Right.
And that is my wins. Those are the things that I cherish. When I have a family that comes to me and says, well, why didn't you do this in this situation? And and I said, you know what? That kid needed my confidence in him. He needed me to show him, even though he's been 0 for something the whole weekend and he's had struggling at bats, he's my leadoff hitter. He is my guy. He is going to start leadoff in the bracket game. Well, why did you do that? He was 0 for the last 12. Because that kid needs to know I still trust him.
Right.
And you know what happened? He went 0 for something. We lost the game. That parent said you should have never did it because he came up with the runners at second and third twice with 2 outs. And I go, you know what the opportunity for success with that is? It's not very high, right? I know it maybe at the youth levels it's better because of it's youth sports,
Right.
but come on.
Yeah. So what?
What happens if he did?
Right.
Because he is our best hitter normally, but he's having a bad week. He had some problems in his family that week,
Right.
and he's down. He needs me to show respect.
He needs that
That
reaffirmation.
young man at the end of the
yes.
season said thank you
Right.
for trusting me.
Right.
That is so much bigger than winning the gold trophy. I took second in the tournament. So much better taking second and having that experience than ever winning a tournament.
You want to solve a lot of problems? Eliminate Game Changer and the accessibility to Game Changer. I would not give my parents the accessibility to look at their kids' stats until the end of the season. And that cut out a lot of bull, you know what.
Yeah.
I would not allow them to look at stats.
Yeah, because the duck farts.
Exactly. Well,
The
just
duck
that
fart singles
and
and
the
the-
fact that, they would, try to justify
It's
that their
subjective.
exactly. At the end of the year, they got their stats. I didn't show them Game Changer stats. I love Game Changer. It's great. But our Game Changer guy, we would talk about it. I would have access to the stats. The coaching staff would have access to it. We would make subtle changes in the lineup.
Sure, 'cause that's what you're supposed to do. if it
Exactly.
happens.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to have a parent come to me after the game going, look at Johnny was 3 for 4 with this, and this, and your kid was, we're not going there. But I set standards at the beginning of the year. I had a parents meeting. This is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to practice. This is how many days a week we're going to do it. Here's our tournament schedule. This is how we're going to do things. I didn't have rules. I had my standards of what we need to do. Really the only rule was be on time. And if you're on time, you're late. Get your kids there. I mean, obviously when the kids couldn't drive themselves,
Yeah.
stuff happens. But why? I'm not a big rules guy. I'm a big standard guy.
I think there's a big difference in standards. I have that I would get once I got to my high school level kids, they would go, Coach, I'm going to miss practice today. Okay, buddy. I would not ask another question.
Nope.
I'd get another text that says, this is why. And I would respond, you don't need to tell me your why.
Right.
And they were like, well, every other coach wants to know why. And I go, buddy,
I don't need to know why.
I already know you're missing practice, which is an opportunity not to get better. That's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to continue practice with or without you here. I have still the people who show up to practice with. I don't need you to tell me why you're late. I don't need you to tell me why you're going to miss. Just know that you're missing. That's missing an opportunity. Now, I will recognize it if you come in the next day and try to make it up, or you come in later and practice with another team.
Right.
I will recognize those kinds of things because I think that's the dedication that we have. We need that in the dad coaches. We need that in our volunteer coaches. We need that in our paid coaches. We need that out of our instructors.
Absolutely.
If the game can just go back, I really shouldn't say that. If we just hold each other to standards, this game probably changes big time for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we put our kids in positions to actually really get the return on their investment, which that has to be them, not the team model, not the name across your chest. You have to invest in you. Some of that requires this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that's the one that's on the back.
Absolutely.
And if we do not take care of that, you're going to lose out on your investment in team sports.
Right.
Because I don't think it is what you think it is long term. Most of these parents are new to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. You're not.
Right.
We've experienced this. Our leaders that are in the organizations, they're not new. They understand this is why they have the business models they have. Good, right or wrong, whatever. That's your choice to make that decision. I'm part of it. And I like making money.
Right.
And we have house teams to fill and keep the lights on. Yes, we do that. I'm not ashamed of saying that.
Right.
But I'm providing a service to you.
Absolutely.
Outside of that service is up to that parent. And so when I try to give you a quality product, I want to give you the best experience. Why? Because you're going to return. You're going to refer people to me.
Mm-hmm.
The word of mouth is the best. That's why I send people to you.
Right.
If they're down there, or who's the best guy to go to, it's going to be Andrew and Shane and my guys and guys that I think that I have massive impacts on people, because you care about the end result, which is the development side. And I really appreciate this conversation, you coming in. I know that you got
my pleasure.
You're busy. You got some things happening. Congratulations on being a grandpa.
Can't wait.
It's going to be the coolest thing, because one of the best things about being a grandpa is like when the kid starts to cry, you can
send them home.
Yep, pick them up. And
But I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter. Unfortunately,
this is
yes, this is my
okay,
second.
so
Yes,
second.
I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter. It's a long distance relationship now. They live in Butler, Pennsylvania.
That's
So,
a long distance.
Yeah, my son-in-law got transferred out there, but we FaceTime weekly. I mean, you still get to
that's
see.
gotta be tough.
Yes, it's very tough.
Yeah. So
Very tough.
is your daughter your oldest?
My oldest, my youngest daughter is the one that I have a 5-year-old granddaughter.
Okay, gotcha.
My oldest daughter is giving me the grandson here, and they live 20 minutes away, so that's going to be
Much
oh my
easier.
goodness, yes, absolutely.
I remember a time, so I was a young parent. When I say young, I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's young. Do not recommend that. When I would send her over to my parents' house, right, and we would have the night off. We'd go out of town. It'd be 2:00 in the morning. Bam! Right here, dude.
Yep.
Just my dad just right at the front door, like dropped her off right at the front door.
There she is.
And I was like, what the heck, man? Call, no nothing. She's like, nope, I'm sick of hearing her cry, so she's yours. And I can remember a time where my grandson was having an issue. I told my significant other, I said, you call your daughter, either you get her or I'm taking your grandson back. I am not doing this anymore. I did it already for 30-something years.
Right.
Ain't doing it no more.
Nope.
That is the coolest thing about being a grandparent.
Absolutely.
You don't have to
Spoil them
deal
to
with
death and then send them home.
Yeah, with all the loudest toys in the world.
Absolutely.
I really did wish my grandson was a terrible sleeper, because my daughter was.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude just rock solid, man. Sleeps for like 10 hours, man.
Must
I'm like,
be nice.
you lucky son of a gun.
That's right.
Anyways, shout out to our kids, man, for bearing
Yes.
with us as dad coaches and going through some of that that you probably went through. And to all the dad coaches out there, keep grinding. If you need
Absolutely.
assistance, I know Shane's probably got an open mic. I have one. If you're looking for questions, do it. Make sure you get part of the Youth Baseball Midwest YBM Club, because there's going to be information on there so that you can be part of this program and get information. But at the end of the day, my job, I want to service anybody that I can that wants to get better at this game.
Right.
It could be baseball, it could be softball, it could be football. basketball. I got 5 kids that I'm doing basketball stuff with, trying to make them movement training and better athletes overall. I can't tell you the amount of confidence these kids have gotten from getting bigger, faster, stronger.
That's fantastic.
I know you're going through this right now. I know every day. I called him up one time. He answered the phone while he was in like his 3-mile
got to get it in
morning or
That's
whatever
right.
it was. He's over there huffing and puffing. I'm like, dedication, man.
Absolutely.
You got to have that if you want to be great at the sport. Shane,
Fantastic episode.
how can we get a hold of you on socials?
Facebook, Twitter, a little bit of TikTok I'm getting into now, but basically Facebook, Twitter, Premier Hitting Development. I appreciate the support of everybody. I'm just grateful. I'm very humble to be here, and I love doing my job.
Yeah, it is
I really
awesome.
do.
12/16, that is December 16th. Shane's going to be back on. This is the final part of the 3-part series where we'll talk about the volunteer coach, which you kind of say that it's a dad coach. I'm also actually a volunteer coach right now, and we're going to talk about the importance of it and trying to keep costs down for teams. This is why the volunteer coach exists and how we can make up money elsewhere in this game. But part 3 of that series will happen then. Shane, again, man, awesome job, dude.
Great episode.
He's got some young dudes that you need to watch out for.
Absolutely.
And Ian Muller.
Ian Muller, yep.
Them
Came in
dudes
for
can swing
assessments today, and 5 days a week. Here we go.
You work, man. Your tail off.
7 days a week right now, brother.
SEMO. You're in SEMO.
Yep.
You're
SEMO
in
on
St.
Saturdays
Charles.
now, yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm all over the place.
Man, just look at his stuff. You'll love this guy. Anyways, thank you. Have a great day, and stay safe out there on the roads.